Sandra, thank you so much for being here today. I'm really excited to talk about the recent ESG report. And I'd like to open our conversation by asking you about how we bring our brand purpose to life. So Nielsen's brand purpose is powering a better media future for all people. How does Nielsen prioritize that as a company? And what tangible impact does that have on the media industry in our world at large?
The DEI has always been essential in most businesses that I have been participant in, but it's everything actually at Nielsen. Inclusion is rooted in our Nielsen values: inclusion, courage, and growth. And as we operate in this culture that is diverse and inclusive, absolutely innovation flourishes and our clients win. And that is something that I have actually, as David says, I preach. Employees are engaged and we collaborate better when we are at our best in understanding these different communities that we measure. The rest of the media industry by far is coming around finally. If you look at the writer's strike, the potential actors strike, and the growth of women's sports, as we look at Cannes Lions, which just happened, the big narrative indeed has been the need to drive equity in media, both in terms of the access and the representation. There's a lot of work that is being done, and a lot of conversation has taken place at Cannes. And you were there, so you know, there is no longer a general market. We have to use creativity and innovation and technology to embrace diverse people and their unique experiences. So I think that we're on point for this, and we continue to grow. So let me also go to you, Deirdre, and ask you, how does Nielsen's brand purpose, powering a better media future for all people, drive the product choices? Is there a recent example you can share of how prioritizing representation has changed the way your team works or produces?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually going to build on the comment you made about both access as well as representation. And I'll start with representation because those are product decisions we make about how we reflect all people in the products and the data that we produce. So a couple recent examples. One is most people are probably familiar with the fact that we have recently brought big data providers into our national measurement in the United States. And in doing that, we are using the very best and largest data sets available to capture all of the people in the United States, but also using that in concert with our representative panel so that we make sure that the data we are collecting from these machines, which provide the breadth, also come back and represent all of the people of all colors, of all income, of all geographies representation. And secondly, on that geography point, we make sure that we use the footprint of those data providers to represent the footprint that they actually exist in the United States, because there are differences. The demography of the Midwest looks different than the demography of New York City, for example. And we need to use those accurately so that we're reflecting the people in there and ultimately really representing all the citizens of the United States. And then lastly, as we've created this data and made it available to the market, we really wanted to allow our clients to innovate and embrace it as they were ready to do so. It's a change from Nielsen's traditional panel-only measurement. So we continue to back the panel-only, which is accredited and fully audited as our official currency. But we also made this big data in national service available for transaction for clients that wanted to lean into it, because it does a really great job of capturing all of the people using all of that data available. And a proof point of that is the fact that Univision has really leaned into this and is using it as their currency and their choice for the upfronts this season, because it captures the Hispanic population in the US really well. To use the words of client Roberto, he says, finally, you can actually see what we've known is there, and you can actually see the whole audience. And that's really the goal. So that's one big example. A second example is that we are enabling what the industry calls advanced audience reporting across all of our measurement. And what this really means is that publishers or marketers can bring their view of the world into Nielsen measurement so that they can plan against the people they want to reach and measure against how they did in reaching those people. And that's really critical because everybody looks at the world and at their consumer base and at their audience through their lens. And sometimes that's seeking a DEI audience, and sometimes it's seeking Toyota buyers. But whatever it is, we're enabling the view of people the way that the industry and marketers and publishers want to look at their audience and really understand that audience at scale across our products. And then the last point I want to make actually has to do with access. Nielsen does a lot to make sure that our diverse-owned media partners are able to be measured in Nielsen solutions. And then it's affordable, that the price point is accessible to them to purchase that measurement themselves. And that's really critical because as advertisers and publishers seek to find those audiences and diverse audiences, they need to make sure that they're represented in our measurement. So we work with them to make sure that the enablement is easy and affordable, and that the licensing of that data for use in their business is also affordable. We also do pro bono consulting throughout the year to help these diverse-owned media companies. And we put out thought leadership to demonstrate how Nielsen data can actually show all of the people in the United States. And you see that in reports like this. A last example that really applies globally is that Nielsen's constantly innovating in how we bring data into our measurement and make that available to our clients and to the world. So specifically what I mean here is, first of all, we're taking a principled approach about how we get first-party data and use it in a privacy-safe way, but still use that census look at all people by acquiring that in a privacy-safe way via clean rooms, via direct integrations, and via identity. This has always been a core competency of Nielsen, to use the best data available to us and bring that to bear to represent the audiences that we are measuring. And it's these techniques around identity and clean room and interoperability that are going to move us forward and keep our global measurement relevant around all the markets that we operate in.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Let me turn it back to you for a moment, Sandra. What has been the biggest change in how Nielsen operates to drive better representation in media since you joined us as our Chief Diversity Officer?
So first of all, I joined in 2020. I was 7 weeks in before the pandemic. Of course, that changed everything. The changing of the global political, economic landscape and racial reckoning, everything was happening. And it was harder for those who are unseen to be seen and advocate for themselves. Certainly having a CEO who was in fact CEO / CDO, David Kinney, was fully aware of the value of DEI. And that I can certainly appreciate as a leader in diversity, equity, and inclusion, making sure that externally through our data and insights, we were helping our clients and the industry answer the question, how do we engage people in this new world and mindset? And one of the examples is the inclusion analytics that was introduced to me, and I was floored by that. In all of my career, I had not come upon some information and data that was pulled as it was for inclusion analytics. So that was a great piece for us. And then in terms of employees, we had a town hall that seemingly freed the minds and the feelings of people within our organization, where they actually did feel that they were being seen. We didn't shy away from the DEI strategy. And even when we had our initial riff, we did not do anything with the DEI team. It kept it whole. And we also maintained our DEI budget. Those things are very obvious, but they're also very important to how we actually think this is an important piece of the culture and the foundation of Nielsen. So I can appreciate being here and leading this charge. And thank you for asking that question, Deidre.
I remember every one of the events that you mentioned. They really resonated with me. So I just want to say thank you, Sandra. It's been a real pleasure to talk about this with you. I know it's a topic and an issue that we're both passionate about and Nielsen's passionate about. So thank you.
Thank you, Deidre.